My ears are trash right now.
Where did you get that shirt?
Me?
Yeah.
No, it's like it's mine. I don't know.
No, I'm just asking where you got it.
I don't know. It's probably a Hot Topic.
So you don't know where you got the shirt, is what you're saying.
I'm saying it's been too long since I remember where I got the shirt.
Yeah.
Are you saying if this is your shirt or not?
Yeah.
Look, I'm not afraid to tell you if this is your shirt or not. I have one of your shirts in my drawers.
Which one?
Like the old one from like high school. It was a brown with a pirate skull on it, and I don't remember what it said on it, but
Okay. I don't know. I've been looking for a few of my shirts that I had in high school that I'm like, whatever happened to those shirts?
I don't think this is yours. I'm pretty sure I got this off Hot Topic.
That's where I got mine, so I don't know.
This is the Always More podcast.
Hello and hello. It's March 31st and welcome to the Always More podcast, where we believe there is always more room at the table for honest questions, meaningful conversations, and deeper understanding. Today on the pod, we are talking about our reviews and recommendations of the week. Things in the news you probably didn't hear about: goats taking over towns, millennial fatherhood, shower thoughts with Chris, listener questions, and so much more. But first, I want to introduce my best friend in the whole entire world, Christopher Thomas Ford. How are you doing, my brother?
As per usual, I am doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing good. Chris, it's been many moons since you've been in my bedroom, but today, you're back in.
You know, it's actually only been a few moons. I don't know if you knew I was in your bedroom, but definitely been here recently.
I thought the room felt weird.
No, this is where I put my daughter to take naps
Oh, yeah.
when we're hanging out.
I went really weird there. I did not have to.
Yeah, dude. Don't make it awkward.
Okay, hold on. But what's the best quote that you have ever said to me?
It's only awkward if you make it awkward.
It's only awkward if you make it awkward.
That's absolutely true.
Yes. Well, hey, guys, welcome in. Chris, I'm glad you're with me, as always. It's a week, man. I am tired.
Yeah?
It is, like, just being completely honest and brutal on this podcast. I got rings in my ear and trying to just transition out of, if you're listening to this, in case you didn't know, I'm transitioning jobs right now. And so, you know, I'm okay. I'm fine. It's just been a week, you know?
I understand that on the opposite end. Like, I'm really excited about all of the things that are happening this week. It has been a week, but you're transitioning to a job that I appreciate.
Yeah, I'm working under you. You're going to be my boss.
Exactly. How cool is that?
It's amazing. I'm genuinely 100% excited about that.
You better be. I'm going to work you like a dog. No, I'm just kidding. It's going to be great.
Right.
We finally get to work together again. It's going to be a blasty blast.
It is.
I'm super stoked about it.
All right. Well, hey, today we're going to start off in a segment that we love to call amateur reviews. We don't actually love it, but that's what came out of my mouth.
Nobody has given us a better name yet.
I take that back. Someone sent me a recommendation. Let me find it real quick.
Let's find this.
Tim Jude. Do you remember Tim Jude?
Vaguely, yeah. I think we've only had a couple of conversations.
He's a cool guy. He recommended Rec in Review, like REC dash in dash review or Recom Review. I don't know.
Rec and Review? What does rec mean?
Recommendations and review. Like shorten it up.
Like Rec and Review.
It's better than what we got. I mean,
Rec and Rev.
Oh,
that's actually a pretty good one.
Rec and Rev.
Rec and Rev.
Does it take too much to have to explain it though?
I think so.
Guys, welcome to our conversations about what we should include in the podcast while we're in the podcast.
Yeah, this stuff happens a lot more than you know. It might get edited. It might not.
Who knows? All right, well, let's talk about our reviews of the week. Chris, you go first.
All right, so my first one is a show on Netflix. Most of my reviews are. But this one is actually like the most wholesome show I have ever seen. It's called Samurai Gourmet.
Is it an anime?
No, it is not.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Okay, so it like combines my love for anime with my wife's love for food without it's not like a cooking show though, so it doesn't have the things that I don't like.
But it's
and
not
it's
anime?
not an anime, so it doesn't have the things that she doesn't like.
She doesn't like animes?
No, she doesn't like anime, which is really crazy to me. But so this show is about this Japanese guy that I think he's like 60-something. He's retired, and it just follows every day in the life, you know, whatever he's doing throughout the day.
Yeah.
But it's about the choices that he makes to eat at restaurants or something that his friend made him or stuff like that. Just following some random average retired Japanese man.
Right, yeah.
Who in his mind has visions of like, oh, what if I were an old school samurai without a master? And I could just roam from town to town. And anytime he gets into like conflict, he imagines the samurai handling that conflict.
Oh, okay.
And then he tries to do that the same way, but
I couldn't tell if this was fictional or not. I couldn't.
No, it's super fictional.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a fictional thing. But
is this about a guy who's actually crazy and he just tells you all this stuff, or is this like it actually shows this stuff?
No, it shows all this stuff like happening, like it's acted out by a guy pretending to be a samurai. But it's a pretty wholesome show. Like he goes into restaurants, tries the stuff, and sometimes the food's great and he loves it and it brings back good memories.
Yeah.
And sometimes the food's not great and he gets upset and he's like, well, if I were a samurai, I would tell this lady off.
Gotcha.
So he stands up to go tell the lady off and she turns around and looks at him and he's just like, oh, check please. It's a super wholesome show. I think you would love it. It's only one season, but it's so great and it's comforting to watch.
I might put it on my list. I'll think about it.
If you don't, I know a few people that will.
Okay.
And then my second recommendation, my Rec and Rev for the week would be actually, it has nothing to do with shows or movies or anything like that. I bought a battle grade lightsaber.
About time.
From this store called Crimson Dawn. It's a Texas-based lightsaber producing company.
Oh, I didn't know it was Texas produced. That's pretty cool.
I'm not sure what town. I think it's in Austin, but I'm not positive. But they make really cool lightsabers. I bought one of the mystery box lightsabers, which they have different levels, so you can pay like $75 or like $110 or whatever the cost is for it.
Yeah.
And you get different levels of lightsaber. The one I got was actually the exact one that I wanted. It just, the Force works out, I guess.
The Force.
I love the Force. But anyways, so I got the exact lightsaber I wanted. It came with a really cool sound kit, color-changing blade, the whole 9 yards. And it was only like $75. It's battle grade, so I can whack kids over the head with it. I mean, humans, other lightsabers.
Right.
I can take it to battles and things like that.
Okay, but dude, you turned it on while you came to the house. And like, I don't know if, like, guys, some things like you're just super scary in the middle of the night. So if an intruder were to ever come into your house, all you have to do is turn that sucker on red. Man, that would scare the crap out of me. Even though I know that lightsabers aren't real, you don't
take that risk.
You don't take the chance. No.
All they'd see is a half naked me running at him with a blinking red lightsaber. It's just, I'd get out of the house. Like, even on the off chance that it were real, like, obviously that's terrifying, but knowing that it's not, I would still leave.
Yeah, no.
Because I look crazy running at you with a lightsaber in the middle of the night. So that's what I've got for the week. What's yours, Tim?
Cool. All right, so one is one that we watched together, and that is Zack Snyder's Justice League.
The Snyder Cut.
My goodness, guys. Okay, one of these days we're gonna start recording like episode reviews or movie reviews. But just to kind of keep this short, if any of you guys are comic book fans, like if you guys like the movies and you've been wanting to watch something good, I cannot recommend this enough. Like, I am still trying to debate whether this is my favorite DC movie or not.
It still takes a lot of time, so make sure you've got the time to do it.
4 hours and 2 minutes.
You definitely want to watch it all in one shot, because if not, you're going to be lost, and you're going to get bored and not go back for the second half, because the first half, it did drag. It took a lot to get there, but he wanted, like, no questions unanswered. He wanted everybody to have the background and the motivations that they deserved. There was a random song for like Aquaman.
Yeah.
I think Zack Snyder drags on too long, I think, sometimes.
You know, I feel like this is the perfect Zack Snyder film. Let me say it like that.
Yeah.
Because Zack Snyder, that is who he is. He likes those slow-mo shots. In fact, I don't know if you saw this, but like literally 10% of the whole entire movie
was in slow-mo.
Is in slow-mo.
I saw that.
But I'm telling you right now, if you liked Watchmen, if you liked even Man of Steel.
Wonder Woman.
He didn't do Wonder Woman.
No, but if you liked Wonder Woman, this would be a good version. It did justice to Wonder Woman as a character.
So much more justice.
The first one was like, ugh.
I did not, no. Like I said, we can really rabbit trail on this, but I just did not like what Joss did to Justice League 2017.
I refuse to believe it exists anymore.
Dude, I'm about to throw it out. I'm literally about to throw it out. Like, I do not want to watch that anymore. It's that night and day compared to Zack Snyder's. And so, anyways, can't recommend it enough. Justice League, Zack Snyder's edition, and it is wonderful. It's on HBO Max. And then last, I watched another movie right before that called Creation. And it's about, it's got Paul Bettany, the guy who plays Vision, and you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like WandaVision,
Yeah.
Avengers. He plays a Charles Darwin.
Oh.
And it's about his life and like the years and months leading up to his article is about the what is the official paper called? I'm trying to remember. Is it
the origin of man?
That's
origin of
species.
Genesis? I don't remember.
Okay, well, smarter people out there know. Anyways, it's about that, but it's about his life and like what led up to him taking so long to actually write it. And so he was super religious, but he also experienced a lot of trauma. His daughter had passed away from, I can't remember what the disease was, but he suffered through heavy depression and hallucinations and a lot of things that delayed him actually writing the paper, and people actually kind of wanted him to go faster. And it was interesting to see his struggle internally with his depression and also his conflict with writing something that would cause a fight with science versus religion. Like it really kind of sparked that. And so he knew it would do that. And so there was this conflict within him of where he wanted to respect his upbringing and his faith, or what was his faith, but also knowing that, you know, he's just writing on what he's seen and what the evidence that he's known. And so I thought it was a really, you know, it's a kind of like a slow-paced movie, but it was enlightening to see the humanity behind Charles Darwin, because so many times people, especially in the Christian religious realm, they like to villainize him.
Yeah, they just crap talk him all the time.
Right, and they like to, you know, make him to this huge villain who's out against religion or Christianity. And it was just nice to humanize him and to see him. I mean, granted, it's a movie, but it was nice to kind of see that reflection of he was just a human being who was going through things, and he was just writing what he saw. It
may just be a movie, but that's very indicative of who he was, from my understanding anyway, from what I've read about him. He was a Christian. Like he wasn't an atheist trying to disprove God. He was just writing his scientific method.
Yeah.
And in my experience, science doesn't fight God. Science proves God.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
Like anytime I look into the history of something, like even anything, like the 10 plagues in the Bible can be proven with science. Like it started with like the, what was it? The frogs dying. Like the frogs came out, or I don't remember where it started. It was a long time ago since I read it. But the 10 commandments, not the 10 commandments, the 10 plagues.
Yeah.
Each plague started the next one.
Right.
And you can follow that like scientifically.
Wasn't that seen in the movie Exodus, right, with Christian Bale and everything? Like, didn't they kind of like do like a twist on that? Like, hey, this is what it might look like if it was actually like this is what it could have looked like realistically. I mean, like one plague led to the other. It was just a domino effect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and I agree with you, man. I think too many times we create fights that don't have to exist. It's like, look, we can all disagree on things, but I think too often times, especially us as Christians, we like to make this big mountain out of nothing. And it's just like, yes, Charles Darwin's stuff, you know, you don't have to agree with it, but you know, even if you do agree with it, or even if you don't agree with it, you can still have a healthy dialogue and conversations about what he thought of. And anyways, I don't know. I don't want to get into this whole rant, but
that'll be for another podcast.
Anyways, Creation, I thought it was a good movie. I can't remember what I watched it on. I think it was on Netflix or Amazon, but it was good stuff.
I'll check that one out.
Yeah. Well, guys, cool. Thanks for listening to our Wreck and Rev. Wreck and Rev.
We got to get a sound for that, too.
We'll work on it, guys. All right. Next up, Chris, what's next up, man?
So next up is one of my favorite things.
Yes.
It is, I don't know who needed to hear this, but expiration dates are suggestions. Yes, that means they might last longer, but it also means they could go bad sooner.
Right.
Check your food.
Check your food. I love your wife's, like she'll put on her stories every once in a while where she says to wash your produce.
Yeah, definitely wash your produce.
Like, it just reminds me of that.
Nobody thinks about it, but produce, like as it's growing, is fertilized. Yep. And you know what they use to fertilize things. Why would you not want to wash your food before you ate it?
Wash it, guys.
Like, check your stuff, wash your produce, take care of your body, man.
Yeah.
Because that stuff is going in. It's got to come out some way or another.
Yeah, it's going to do something to your body, good or bad. All right. For mine, I don't know who needed to hear this, but if you're afraid that you will forget an item before you leave home, place it on the floor in front of your door. You'll either pick it up or you'll end up just, stepping into it and smashing your toe. But either way, you won't forget it.
I still feel like I would forget.
Well,
like you have to have like an advanced level of forgetfulness.
Tie it to the doorknob? I don't know.
No, I would just move it aside and open the door.
What is this piece of junk doing?
Yeah, right. It's like, don't forget this. Don't forget this. Don't forget this. What is this doing here? That's like my whole life, though.
Well, that's it. That's all we have.
All right.
I love the quick segments. Those are easy.
They're fun. All right, let's move on to the next one. What did I miss? God, I love that segment.
I love it. Goats are taking over towns.
Which towns?
Goats are taking over Wales. Okay, so I'm getting all my news from the UK, I've noticed recently. Like, all these segments of What Did I Miss are all somehow related to the UK. like, you guys need to get your crap together.
That's because American news is all sad now.
Oh, it's true. Okay. So in this town in Wales called Llandudno, it's not Spanish, so the double L is definitely not a Y sound, but Llandudno, Wales, there are approximately 120 goats that are just randomly roaming the town. So, like, since the beginning of the pandemic, they used to have, like, a lot of goats that just, would be around the town and, countryside.
As you do.
As goats randomly do. But ever since the pandemic hit, they've been a little bit more courageous and just started venturing into town. And so as the months have gone by, it used to be like just a handful, but now it's like come up to like 120 goats at one time, just randomly taking over the town, eating everything, getting into everything, pooping everywhere. And it's just everywhere. They're attacking the town. Here's a quote from the article I read this from. In the spring lockdown last year, the goats who live in the Goat Orm headland by the Welsh seaside town, they achieved global notoriety for invading the traffic-free streets. And when Wales went into a lockdown again, they became even more adventurous, with one even checking in to a hotel.
I'm sorry, what? He checked into... Did he have... I just imagine like this little business suit on a goat with his little tie, and he's got a credit card, and he's like, "Excuse me, ma'am, room for one for the night?" And the lady's just like, "Oh yeah, sure, let's have you room 113. First floor down the hall to the left." Like, what?
So here's more to it. Before the pandemic, the 120-strong army of goats were more commonly spotted munching on the grasslands, but they are now regular visitors who seem to enjoy having free roam of the deserted streets, climbing walls, eating plants and hedges, and generally causing mischief. I want to visit this town. I just want to see what's going on.
Just to check it out?
Just to check it out.
Maybe you could stay in the same hotel as a goat?
That would be amazing.
I don't even know how to react to this.
It's just genuinely wonderful, and also I'm also wondering about more the perspectives of the people who live there. Like, are they actually truly trashing the place? And
I feel like the people that live there, they're not stopping it, so they have to just be like, "Oh, there's those goats again."
I want to see like in some small towns, like they'll have like a dog or a cat become the mayor. I want this to happen. I want the goat to become a mayor.
The goat that checked into the hotel.
Yeah.
Technically, he's a resident. So, I mean, that could be a thing.
Oh man, that's what I got. What do you have, Chris?
All right, so mine is actually a little more amazing than funny. But
okay.
So there is a bakery in Japan that uses an AI to determine what pastries people are buying. They basically just walk in, grab the pastry, put it on a tray, slide the tray under the camera, and it uses a super advanced AI to determine which pastry they have.
Okay.
And there's like 100 different choices, so they can pick up like 2 pieces of bread that look the same.
Right.
But the computer knows what it is based on like small differences of how the braiding is and all that kind of stuff. That AI was designed for that purpose.
Right.
Just for the bakeries.
Yeah.
It is now being used to determine cancer cells.
What?
That same AI, because of the way that AI learns, it's insane. So,
yeah, explain how.
This AI was based off of a thing called AlexNet, which came out in like 2012.
Okay.
It's specifically used. It's actually the same technology that people use for logins when the computer says, "Hey, pick each picture that has."
I hate that.
Like a stoplight in it.
Yeah.
Each picture that has a crosswalk. every time you do that, you help the AI learn how to differentiate between more images.
I freaking hate those things, though. I always get it messed up.
You're helping cancer patients.
Oh, well, okay. I guess I don't.
That gives you a new perspective, right? Yeah, I didn't know that.
Thanks for putting that guilt on me.
Yeah, I would just leave before I read this article.
Yeah.
But it was an article in the New Yorker. This guy named Hiyashi Kanbe, if I'm mispronouncing that, I'm sorry. He is the man behind the pastry AI.
Yeah.
He grew up in a small town in Japan, and he wanted to be a software designer. So he figured out how to take this AlexNet thing and grow it into the more sophisticated pastry AI. And then somehow it just started identifying cancer cells.
Like, I don't understand. Like,
in humans. I think...
Like, you put it up against them? And
it's been a minute since I read the article, but if I remember correctly, they decided, hey, this could be useful. And they started showing it pictures of cancer cells.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like, it took on a mind of its own, and it was like, okay, that is a cancer cell. So it started identifying cancer cells in humans before the blood count started going up, before doctors could find it, before anything.
Wow.
So it's being used now in hospitals.
That's
and
pretty
it is
awesome.
So cool.
Yeah. Dude, technology.
It's both our savior and our doom.
It really is. But that's so cool, man. Like, I mean, AI is scary as all get out, but...
Oh, for sure.
But, like, there's so many, like, if we can, like, really get a hold of it and make sure, you know, Terminator stuff doesn't happen, man, that's really cool. I like that.
I think the whole point of AI, though, is that you can't stop it once it starts. It's intelligent. Look what happened to humans. Like, once we started learning and developing tools and writing...
Look what you did, God.
We destroyed everything. Maybe we are AIs.
Oh, man, that's a whole nother Matrix episode. That's what that is.
I'm always down for Matrix episode.
All right, guys. Well, hey, that was all for What Did I Miss?
Man, I love that sound.
That's a good stuff. All right. Well, hey, after a few moments, we're going to come back and talk about a topic that we really like to talk about, and that is fatherhood. So stay right there. We'll be right back. We're back. Hey. All right, guys, we are in a topic that I'm actually really excited to talk about. And we're going to do this main segment a little bit differently than how we normally do it. Usually, behind the scenes, I like notes. I like, you know, note-taking and research and a whole bunch of things, which I still kind of did. But this week specifically, I chose to only include, like, in the first, I swear, only first 2 minutes or so. It'll be like more 10 minutes, but it'll only be for a little bit where we have like some stats and you know, statistics to talk about. But then after that, we're kind of just gonna be asking ourselves questions and how we think about fatherhood. That's the main topic for today, is millennial fatherhood. And the reason why we kind of went towards the, you know, term millennial fatherhood is because
we are millennial fathers.
We are millennial fathers. Yeah, I thought too, I'm sure all of you guys who are listening, you're well aware that there's a lot of stigmas when it comes to millennials in general. And so I kind of wanted to pinpoint some of those, maybe not stigmas, but some of those things that are the reason why we are the way we are.
Sure. And some of the preconceived ideas that people have, the reasons behind them, and whether or not they're true.
Right.
Why we are that way.
Yeah. And just like any generation, and just like any stereotype, and just like any stats, obviously we are not a stat. We are not 100% a certain way. We all have our differences. Chris and I are different human beings who fathered differently, and we have some principal things that we definitely agree on, but we also have some things that not on purpose. It's not like we like are disagreeing with one another, but just I'm sure as we are living our lives, we just do things a little bit differently, just because we're different human beings.
Yeah, some things are a little more focused for you than they are for me, and vice versa. Some things are more focused for me than they are for you.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just how it is. So, all right. So for the first few moments, I want to share with you guys some research that I got from Pew Research. This is from 2019, so it's only a couple years old, which is really good. And so this is from millennials, mostly fathers of the ages between 23 and 38. So as I go through this, Chris and I, we might stop and kind of talk about a certain stat that we see and like, oh yeah, we agree with that, or like, hey, I do that, or whatever, or we just might.
I do that.
Or we just might pass it up. But I thought you guys might like to hear some of these stats because I do, and if you don't, then, well, I don't know. I don't know where to go from there.
If you don't, you're probably not listening to us anymore.
Right.
Also, feel free to shoot in some emails and stuff, like whether or not you do some of this stuff or some of the cool stuff that y'all do as far as being parents, or some of the stuff that your parents have done for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, so let's get started. Here's some stats to go through that I found interesting. 3 in 10 millennial parents live with a spouse and a child, compared to 40% of Gen Xers at a comparable age. So right off the bat, millennial parents, whether good or bad, it doesn't tell you the good or the bad behind that, and take that as you will, but there are less parents living with their kids than the generation before us, or generations. Well, yeah, Gen X was before us.
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
It's not a big difference, though. That's only 10%, which,
true.
I mean, obviously, of course, like 300 million people, that's a big number, but percentage-wise, that's still variable. It's not a huge difference.
Right, and that's not also equating that there are also less parents than there used to be. Like, there's just, people are not having as many babies as they used to. And so I think that's another step we'll get to in a moment. Only 44% of millennials are married. So take that as you will. About 1 in 5 millennial fathers are single dads. That was actually surprisingly higher than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I was thinking that seems a little high.
I'm trying to think of people who I know. I know some dads who are divorced, but they're remarried. But I'm trying to think of just genuinely single dads. I can't think of that many off the top of my head.
I know a couple, but would you consider it a single dad if they don't have custody of the child?
That's a good thing. I should have looked into that. I don't know if that's what they're looking at, or if it's like sole custody or not.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question. All right. In 2019, 32% of millennial men reported living in a household with their own children. So that's just overall. That's not saying all fathers who are parents. That was 32%. That's just all millennial men, compared with 41% of Gen X men in 2003, 44% of Boomer men in 1987, and 66% of Silent Generation men in 1968. So obviously the rate of men living with their children overall, and I think that just equates to there's just less fathers than there were. I think there's just less amount of parents that...
It's probably a mix of both, I would think. Like, obviously there are less parents because millennials aren't having kids at the same rate as Gen X, or especially boomers and silent generation. But at the same time, we also live in a time where divorce isn't as stigmatized as it used to be. And there are all kinds of different reasons for divorce, whether they're good or bad reasons. You know, it is what it is. That's between you and your spouse, I guess. But it's not as stigmatized as it used to be.
No, definitely not.
A lot of people compare, like, oh, well, my grandparents are married for 60 years.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, but didn't your grandpa also beat your grandma for
right. Yeah, there's a lot of variables that people don't talk about. Yeah,
like that type of stuff. Nobody adds that into these statistics. So
right.
You got to wonder about that stuff.
You know, I really, just a quick break here. I think, you know, there's a show out there called Mad Men. You ever watch Mad Men?
Yeah.
And the show is definitely not for children. So for any of you guys that have kids, don't watch it around them.
Or any of you that are kids.
Right. But it's a show about mostly the 1960s. Actually, it is all 1960s. And it's about advertisers in New York. And what I really appreciated about the show was it really depicted the true household, I think. I think they did a good job of showing what a household looked like in the 1960s. And there was just, granted, it's not everyone. It's a TV show. They make things more dramatic. But it also really depicted just how well, or not well, I guess, the household truly was. Like, I think in a lot of people's heads, like, oh, wow, back in the day, marriages lasted longer and everything was more peaceful and, you know, people were happier. And it's like, maybe for some, but...
they still had the same problems that we face now. They just dealt with them differently.
Right.
Abuse, cheating, just distance because of work, things like that.
Yeah. And there was definitely more of we've talked about this already in the first episode, but with toxic masculinity, it was at an all-time high, I think, around that time because of just the reinforced, the man is the head of the household. You do what he says, even if he beats you. And it's just... Anyways, I get on to that tangent just to say that it's definitely a different age. There's different, things to consider, which actually leads me to the next point here. 97% of fathers now do diaper changes. Now, here's why this is such a big deal. Is as opposed to back in 1982, when a study found that more than 40% of dads said they had never changed a diaper.
I can't imagine that. Like, I change my daughter's diaper anytime I'm there.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
Yeah.
She loves when I change her diaper. We have a little song. We sing. But, like, she has a blast. I don't enjoy it, but
right.
That's time that I can spend with my daughter. That's something that I can take off my wife's shoulders because she's watching my kids while I'm at work all day.
Right.
Well, our kids, I say my kids.
Yeah.
She's the one that's like parenting them as I'm working. So when I come home, I try to do everything that I can. I clean up her messes. I play with her. I wipe her butt. All of that stuff. I can't imagine like bragging about that. Like, it's not that 40% of men never change diapers. Like, usually. Yeah. They had never once changed their kid's diaper. I can't imagine that.
I think, too, it's just, and we'll kind of get more into this a little bit later when we talk about just other stats, but, I'm thinking about just the human decency behind all this. And I think this really just comes back to gender roles. Is just, there was just this mindset that men don't change diapers. They don't do things with the kids. And we'll kind of get to more stats in a second about this, but, man, it blows my mind because, I mean, granted, Jessica's with the kids most of the time, so she's definitely the one who's changed most diapers, but, I mean, I would say it's at least a good 70-30, whenever I'm here at the house. It's a lot more than that, but, like, overall, at least I'm trying to do what I can, and, yeah, it's crazy stat. Okay, here's a good one. This actually made me really happy to see this. Dads now spend 3 times as much time with their children as they did 2 generations ago, and a majority view being a good father as a priority and essential to their identity. I mean, that's definitely how I feel.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Like, being a dad isn't all I am, but it is one of my favorite things to be.
Right, absolutely. Yeah.
Anytime I can spend time with my kids, I'm trying to do that.
Yeah.
Like, even if I have to go somewhere, I want to take my kids with me if it's somewhere that they can go.
Yeah.
We went to Lowe's today, actually, to get some stones for, like, the edging of my wife's garden. Mm-hmm. And I took the baby, threw her in the stroller, pushed her around Lowe's, had a good old time. Yeah. She loves seeing the stuff at Lowe's. As often as I go, she never gets bored being there.
Yeah.
Obviously, she wants snacks, and she starts crying sometimes if she's tired. But
yeah,
we have a blast hanging out together.
Right.
Just running up and down the aisles. She points at stuff. Ooh, ooh. So it's one of my favorite things to do, just spending time with her, like hanging out with Tyler, taking him skateboarding. Sometimes I'll just throw him in the car and we'll go to like Sonic and just jam out to music. That's one of our favorite things to do. And it is a blast hanging out with my kids.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things too, like, and we'll kind of get on this in a second too, about just us and our dads, but I remember some of my favorite things doing with my parents were just doing the small little things. Like, it didn't have to be Disney World. It didn't have to be this huge thing. It was just going to the park or just doing this stupid thing together. And so, sometimes just because we have, you do too, but like with 2 babies, we'll just take turns and try to, one day Aria will go out with me, but then the other day Aria will go out with mom, and same thing with Jim, and we'll just take turns and have their own little mini experiences together. And it's just a super, it's like, man, I know that if I want to be a good parent, I want to create as many small memories as I can, like just little things that add up over time.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't only make me feel good. I mean, as it should, that's a good thing, but it also makes me kind of just be reinforced that, like, you know what, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm doing something that is going to benefit them emotionally, spiritually, all these different things. And so,
right.
Yeah.
You want them to have good stuff to say at your funeral, nothing bad.
100%. Yeah. Okay, so this is probably the last thing, and it has like a few little caveats to it. Millennial parents are more likely to struggle financially.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. A report by Young Invisibles explains why millennial parents are having a harder time financially than previous generations. For one thing, child care and education costs have increased to 18% of the total cost of raising a kid from just 2% in 1960.
So that's 18% of your income or 18% growth?
18% of the total cost of raising your kid. So if you equate diapers, if you equate, schooling for them, all those things. So all that it takes to raise a child, all that money that goes towards raising your child, 18% of that has increased for like, what did I just say?
From 2%.
Yeah.
So like 2% of that cost was originally child care and education.
No.
now it's
18%.
18%
right.
of whatever that cost was. So let's say $100 in 1960 could raise a kid.
Yeah.
$2 of that. Now it's like $1,000 because cost of living has gone up.
Yeah.
And the cost of
on top of that,
education and stuff has gone up in percentage.
Yeah.
That is insane.
So and that's just them as kids. That's them not even going to college, which that's a whole other conversation about college tuition and stuff.
Yeah.
And so what's more, is Washington Post points out the average 18 to 34-year-old today makes about $2,000 less than they would have in 1980.
Assuming that the money was equivalent.
I think that's what it's saying.
Yeah.
And so you put all that together and you go, it is becoming increasingly harder for us as parents to raise our kids, not because it's harder to be relational with them, but because we are now stressed out because we want to provide the best for them, but it's so much harder to do that now. It is so much harder just to provide the basics like education for them and to provide the best that we can. And so that's, I always I'll just be honest, I get mad when I hear people talking about, it's like, oh, well, back in my day, why couldn't you guys just do this? When we were dads, we could have just done this for you guys. And it's like, we're doing things with hands tied behind our back. There's so many things that are now getting in the way of us becoming more effective parents.
Like,
and so
not only do we want to do it better, but it's harder to do it at the same level they did it at anyway.
And I think I read that in another article, but that actually leads to more frustration, more stress on parents because we know what it takes now, or at least we have more information now to, raise our kids in a good, healthy way. But we also know that sometimes it's harder to do it, and it takes a lot of time to do it well. And so, yeah. So there's some quick stats I wanted to just throw at you guys. Some just back of your head while we talk about some of this other stuff. But let's talk something a bit more lightly. Let's talk about our kids. Let's talk about who our kids are a little bit and what we love about them, what we think are crazy about them. What do you like about your kids, Chris?
All right, so I have two. My first one is Tyler. He is 17. He's actually my brother's son, but he lives with us.
Yeah.
So we got him in school. He's high school now. He's a sophomore. No, he's a junior now. Yeah, he's a junior now. Wow. God, time flies.
Time flies.
He's 17, and with that comes everything you would expect from teenagers. Truthfully, though, he is a really good kid. Yeah. He's smart. He's quick-witted. He's funny. Don't let him hear this podcast. But he does, he's emotionally healthy. He's been through a whole lot as a kid, through his entire life. He's been through a lot, obviously. Yeah. But he has the emotional intelligence, in most cases, to handle that with so much more grace than I would have at his age. And I am constantly amazed by him. Yeah. I'm so proud of him. That being said, sometimes his emotional intelligence kind of skips a situation.
That's a good way of putting it.
So he will, he's a teenager. He gets emotional. He gets angry. He's frustrated. He doesn't know how to express himself entirely. But back to the positives, when he does get on that train of thought, he always comes back afterwards and he's like, guys, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to blow up on you guys like that.
Oh, that's good.
I will do better in the future. And if it takes him a long time to get to that point, he almost always does. And I appreciate that about him so much.
That's a smart kid.
And that is definitely my wife raising him. She has done that to me. She has done it to him. And I hope she does it for my daughter.
Yeah.
But the time and effort we put into him is really showing.
Yeah.
And, he just amazes me every day.
Yeah.
My daughter is a little over a year old now, and she's just a joy to spend time with. She is also hilarious.
Yes, she is.
She's smart. She's probably too smart for her own good. She picks up things quick. She learns super fast. If she doesn't want to do something, she's just not going to do it. Mm-hmm. She's stubborn and strong-willed, and I love every little bit of her. She is just like her mother. So, for instance, she absolutely can walk.
Yeah.
I've seen her do it. But she refuses to walk because she's faster crawling.
Yeah.
She can get where she wants and do what she wants crawling.
Right.
When she gets to whatever table she's trying to reach, she just stands right up, grabs what she wants, drops back down. And from what I've read, that's a sign of intelligence. Like, but I'm worried when she does start walking, she's not actually going to walk. She's just going to sprint.
Oh, there you go. I can see that. Yeah.
No, she loves learning new things. Like, we read together all the time. We have this book called Dada by Jimmy Fallon.
Oh yeah, I have that one. Same one.
So they make the animal noises and everything. Yeah. As I flip the pages, like, I can pick a random page and she knows what the animal sound is. So she doesn't just like do them in order. Like, she knows by animal. And then if she sees that animal later on, she can do the noises as well outside of the context of that book.
Gotcha.
So like, I'm wearing a cat shirt today. And when she saw it this morning, when she first woke up, she goes, meow. That's the cat noise.
Yeah.
So she's just incredible to have. She's got like 5 different names. We call her Ellie, Bean. Her middle name is Daisy Jean. So we can pick any one of those. We make songs up out of it. So, she's going to have a big personality when she grows up, and I'm really excited to see what she's going to be.
Absolutely, man. I love your kids. They, especially, I love both of them. I love seeing, too, because just I've known Tyler longer, obviously, just seeing, to see where he is compared to anyone else that could be in his situation. It is night and day. Like, teenagers are teenagers. They're going to do their own thing sometimes, but to see how he, well, at least from what you guys tell me, how he responds to things and how he deals a lot with what he's done, considering where he's been, it's truly it really is just inspiring. It's truly just kind of like this heartwarming thing to see, like, man, as much as he's been through, the kid is on the right path, and he's a good kid.
So full of compassion.
Yeah.
So full of emotional intelligence. Like, love that kid.
Yeah.
So what about yours? Tell me about your 2 little baby womb nuggets.
Womb nuggets. All right, so Arya is our first one. She is about to turn 4 in about a month or 2, and Jim is 3. No, Jim is 2. He'll turn 3 this year, right?
Yes, because he's a year older than...
No, younger.
No, he's a year older than Ellie.
Oh, yeah. They're both incredible. So before we ever had kids, I had an assumption. I had a guess, and I told Jessica this. Like, you know what? If we end up having 2 kids, and they're a boy and a girl, I bet you that the girl is going to be just like me, and the boy is going to be just like you. And so to summarize tons of experience, that has pretty much been it in a nutshell. Arya is this super high, energetic, crazy little girl who loves to just get attention, to be the center of attention in all the good ways. She is super just happy all the time and just loves to be included with people. Like, her favorite parts of the week are going to church and just being with friends. Yeah. And she is super compassionate, and I think she has this huge emotional man, I don't know how to explain it. She just has so much emotional compassion for people, and she loves to comfort Jim when he's upset. Like, sometimes I'll be changing his diaper, and she'll come up and if he's crying, she'll come up to him and give him a kiss on the head, or just like, kind of like there kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's like, oh my gosh,
I've seen that. It's adorable.
And so Arya is just a little firecracker, and I'm I'm waiting to see as years go by just if this continues, because if she is anything like I was, it's going to be a trip. It's going to be something else. And so, but Arya's great. I love her. She's fantastic. And then Jim, he is just like his mom. He's a lot more reserved. He's a lot more to himself. He is, I think he's more, I feel like he hasn't talked yet really much, but he's trying to say words, and he's trying to, like, he will come up to you, like, let's say if he's thirsty, he'll bring his cup up to you, and he'll just push it in your face. So he knows what he wants. He knows things, but he just doesn't want to say it. Like, it's kind of like with Ellie, with just like not wanting to run around everywhere. I think it's the same thing with Jim. Like, I feel like he doesn't want to talk. He knows what we're saying, and he just like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm straight.
He doesn't feel the need to.
No,
he can determine what he wants and show you what he wants without having to say it. So why would he say it?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But yeah, so Jim is a lot more reserved. One of his favorite things is we have this little swing outside. It's kind of like one of those that you can just lay on, that's hanging on one of our trees. And he will literally just, if we let him, he would spend hours just laying on there. And he just loves to soak in just nature and just the environment around him. And so, I just love the stark differences between the two, and just seeing them and I'm really excited that they are so close. I think they're only was it 9 months apart? No. Yeah. Yeah, I think they're only 9 months apart. They're pretty close.
I truly don't know.
Maybe it's 18. It's close. They're close together. Sorry, guys.
It's either 9 months or a year and a half.
It's close.
One of the two.
And at first it was scary just for us as parents, but just seeing them, I'm really excited that they're growing up together because, one, they have two different personalities, and I'm really excited to see them kind of go off one another and to be there for one another in the same way that Arya tries to comfort Jem. I'm just really excited to see that dynamic as they get older. And so
that's going to be a blast to watch.
It really is. I'm really excited. Dude, we have good kids.
We definitely do.
We have good kids.
Especially me.
I think we have been truly blessed and benefited from, and this guys, kind of what we're getting to next is we've really benefited from good parents and good parenting and good upbringing, or at least having an understanding of what parenting is. And so, not saying that we're perfect parents, but I think we have also just been smart enough to be able to raise decent human beings. I mean, granted, they're only babies right now, but I mean, Tyler's not. But
I was gonna say, speak for yourself, man. My kid's almost an adult.
It's true. He's got little peach fuzz.
Yeah. He thinks he's big and bad. That's both my favorite and my least favorite thing he says. I'm almost 18.
Oh, man, I can't wait for that. Yes, we have good kids, and I'm happy for it. I'm glad for it. But hey, let's move forward about fatherhood, about what we think about our dads a little bit. So what characteristics, Chris, do you think of when you think of our dads and like their age group, like their generations?
Like the boomers.
Yes.
The immediate first thought is, okay, boomer.
Okay, boomer.
You know how that goes. No, like stereotypically, you look at parents that age, and based on TV and different things that we've seen, you think, they're a little bit aloof when it comes to their kids. They're more focused on work, and they don't really know their children too well. They're just kind of vaguely aware of
that's the surface level stuff.
Specifically, like our dads, I know, are both very different from that stereotype. Right. So it's kind of weird to have to compare the two.
Yeah.
Like when I think of boomers, I don't typically think of my dad.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he is like prime boomer age. So I don't know.
There's like some characteristics, like you go, yep, that's definitely my dad. You think of the stereotypical dad and like how they dress and like their socks and
the mid-calf socks,
right,
and the white but grass-stained New Balances,
right,
cargo shorts. That was my dad to a T.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Same here. And so you think of some of those things, but I think, obviously, like we're talking about today, not everyone is a stat. Not everyone is everything that most stats show, but there are these general things that kind of carry over. So I agree with you. Like my dad too, he was not super closed off to us. He was not, a bad father by any stretch of the means. And not saying that most Gen boomers are, or that Gen X boomers are as well, but there is that stereotype of, they were a little bit more, to themselves. I mean, even that stat we talked about earlier with them not changing diapers.
Right.
That's a pretty big, heavy stat, and pretty heavy, at least they're not as involved. And so.
Right. Now, another thing, though, is like you hear 40% have never changed a diaper, and you're like, oh my God, that's so much. But that's still like 60%
True.
have.
Oh, yeah.
60% are involved. That's also a big number.
Right. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I guess when you hear statistics like that, you kind of like over-exaggerate it in your mind. Oh, that's all of them. Like 40% of boomers, that's every boomer.
Yeah.
But it's really not like that.
No. And I think, too, the same way that older generations can characterize us millennials, I think it can go the other way around.
Oh, for sure.
I think a lot of times it just becomes we make enemies out of each other, and we don't have to. We go, oh, well, all these boomers, they all think the same way. They're all this super white old men, and obviously they're not all just white old men. And
yeah, because like where did the rest of the young colored millennials come from, right?
Right.
Like my dad was definitely not an old white man.
Right. But no, I mean, but even to just give respect to some of the older generations, I mean, these guys are the ones who pioneered a lot of the things that we take for granted today. I mean, technology, these are the guys who made all this stuff.
Right.
They're the guys who put men on the moon. They're the guys who created the iPhone. They're the men who created all this stuff. And so...
even if they don't know how to use it.
Right. Okay, so let's briefly talk about this then. I mean, we're kind of brushed on it a little bit, but what was your dad like? Like, kind of, just a short description of who was your dad like? How would you kind of characterize him in like a nutshell?
Okay, so in a nutshell, my dad would probably be like, "Help! I'm stuck in a nutshell." No, so my dad taught me jokes like that. He was in the army, so when you're in the military, that becomes part of your personality. That's kind of how he raised me a little bit.
Yeah.
But not in like an abusive, like drop and give me 50 kind of way. It was just, he raised me to be a leader the way he was taught to be a leader.
Right.
He raised me to make decisions that, can impact everyone around me in the best way possible.
Yeah.
He was always loving, always caring, super supportive. He wasn't always physically there, but I never felt like I didn't have a dad because he was deployed or something like that. So that's my dad in a nutshell.
Yeah. I mean, and that's where we definitely differ. My dad wasn't military, but the flip side was my dad was a pastor, and definitely during his generation of pastors, they were very much, I say this all lovingly, but it felt like a lot of times they were married to the ministry.
Yeah.
And there were times where, and I'm not saying this in a negative context. I'm saying this in the sense of my dad gave so much and worked so hard to be there for people and to love people. And so I say that because my dad loved us tremendously, and he cared for us, and he really gave a lot to us.
Absolutely.
And that trickled down into our family lives, like from the ministry, and he really brought us up into what church could look like and what it should look like. And so for anyone who knows my dad through ministry, they just really do see the loving side that he truly is. Like what you see when he's out preaching, when he's doing his ministry, is kind of how he is at home.
Yeah.
I mean, there's differences obviously, but like that is how he is caring and compassionate towards people. And so, same thing. There were times where I felt like he wasn't always physically there, but I always knew that he loved us and he worked extremely hard for us. And there were times where, we weren't always, we didn't have great economic stability, and during those times he worked extra jobs and just cared. He did what it took to take care of the family. So
it sounds like our dads are probably sitting somewhere in that 60%.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
because of that, I know, like, with your dad and my dad, our other friends that hung out with us at our houses that didn't have that positive male role model saw that, and they decided they wanted to be like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I have friends today that still call my dad their dad.
Yeah, yeah.
I have friends that are like, "Hey, how's your dad doing?" And I haven't talked to them in like a month, and they're just like, "Oh, I'm more concerned about our dad together." Like,
yeah,
bro, this isn't your dad; it's my dad. But like that kind of positive male role model from our fathers helped shape the 97% in our generation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy how that kind of stuff can be passed down and passed, whether it's intentional or not.
Yeah,
because like I said, my dad was military. I didn't join the military, obviously, but I still took on those characteristics that he wanted to instill in me, that his military training helped me develop in the things that I do.
Yeah.
Because like now, regardless of what my job is, I want to be the best at it.
Yeah.
I want to train other people to be just as good as I am, and I want to bring people with me and make sure that they're successful as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are the kinds of things that I picked up from him.
Yeah. Yeah, and the same kind of stuff. There's so many things that, I mean, it would have to be a whole nother episode, but there's so many things that I've learned from my dad on how to be relational and and that same mentality too. I think that was a generational thing from our dads of just working hard and really, pulling up your sleeves, doing what you have to do for your family. And that's something I definitely cherish because that's something I want to use in my everyday life with my family. And so, yeah, a lot of great things from our dads. Obviously, like we said before, they're not perfect. No one is.
Right.
There are things that we can look back at and nitpick and try to go, well, I wouldn't do it that way. But, I've seen so much research that says it doesn't matter how perfectly you think you're going to raise your kids. You're going to do some kind of emotional
you're going
damage.
to screw up.
You're going to do something.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how great and wonderful you are as a parent. There's going to be something that your kid remembers that is just, like, oh, I remember my dad did this to me, and you may not even know it. And so,
oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, but that definitely doesn't overtake just, I think, how good of dads we had. And so, yeah. Anything else to add to that?
No, I think I'm good on that one. But rolling from that, what are some things that you didn't learn from your parents that you're learning in parenthood now?
Yeah, did not learn. Man, that's a really hard one. I'm really trying to like there's some simple like little things like I didn't realize like a newborn baby pooped out black tar.
Oh yeah, no, that was terrifying. Nobody ever tells you that.
No
stuff.
one ever tells you that. No.
No. Like one of the things that caught me off guard was when Ellie was first born, there was like some red in her diaper.
Oh yeah.
And I thought it was blood. Had my wife not already known that, I would have freaked out and rushed my baby to the hospital.
Right.
And I don't even know if I would have strapped her in. I would have just driven the whole way with her in my arms, like crying. No ambulance or anything. I just fix my baby.
I mean, I'm trying to think of like big themes, and there's not too much out there that there might be a lot of specific little things that I don't think of, but I think most of what they taught me was through general example, if that makes sense. And so
Yeah.
there wasn't too much that really, just me being a parent that has like totally caught me off guard. I think one of the things that, you can't really teach anyone is just how much fun and how much you can love just being with your kid.
Oh, for sure.
Like you can't
For
really,
sure.
you can't really explain that. So it's like, I feel like as a parent, even now, like it's not really worth my time trying to explain that to a new parent. Cause it's like, you just have to experience that for yourself. Like
Yeah.
it's going to be a genuine piece of, discovery that you're going to have that like, wow, I can have so much fun with my child, even when I didn't even expect, even like a newborn kid when they're just,
Yeah, people always
doing
tell
nothing.
you, having kids is like the greatest joy of your life, but they never tell you why.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's because you can like throw these little things around and catch them and they just laugh. And
Right.
they have a blast doing like the smallest, simplest things, like all those little dumb things that entertain you, but you don't let your friends know they're entertaining
Yeah.
to you. Will give your baby the time of their life.
Right. Right.
Now, all of that to say, I'm not trying to pressure anybody into having kids. If you don't want kids, that's definitely on you. You've
Please
probably
don't
already
rush into
skipped
that.
this podcast. But it is one of the coolest things in the world, just seeing like all the little things that bring you joy. Like
Right.
I got my daughter one of my lightsabers out of storage, like one of the plastic $6 ones from Walmart.
Yeah. Yeah.
She has a blast playing with that little purple lightsaber.
Yeah.
And I got mine from crimsondawn.com.
Yeah.
Boop, boop. And we had a little lightsaber battle the other day. She's won, so she's literally just holding the lightsaber up. But
You were having a duel with her.
I would tap her lightsaber, and she would just laugh and laugh and laugh.
Yeah.
And it was the sweetest thing. Those are the things they don't tell you about.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about maybe the challenges that we have kind of started to already deal with, and maybe some of the things that we are dealing with, things that we both know from past generations and don't know, and things that we are kind of just, especially as millennial father, what kind of things, because being millennial fathers, there are some things that past generations did not have to experience and did not have to,
Right.
They just didn't have at their hands. And one of those biggest things is technology, or at least not to the degree that we have it today.
Right, yeah.
And so, like for me, one of the challenges that I am trying to tackle right now, one of the lines that I'm trying to find is how much technology do I give to my kids? Because
Screen time.
right,
Ah,
because I'm not going to be so extreme on one side or the other. I'm not going to go, okay, technology is from the devil, and that you should never be on it, and that it just mushes your brain, or that video games will turn you violent. But on the other hand, I do believe there is an unhealthy side to screen time, and there can be an addiction level to things like your phones and movies and TVs and all that. And so with Aria, she has this little tablet that she has. And one of the things that we're trying to figure out is just how much time are we going to allow her to be on there, and also what kind of stuff is she, doing on there. So like we have
Right.
apps that we picked out that are more educational. They help her learn. Like the other day, we discovered that she knows how to like kind of tell time, but not just like on one of those digital clocks, but like a real, analog.
the analog clock.
Yeah, like I brought a clock home from work the other day, and she was like telling me the times on there. I was like, "Kid, where did this come from?" And sure enough, it's from her little iPad and on
That's
app.
cool.
And so. Yeah, so that's one of the things that I'm trying to figure out is just how do we find that middle ground of, how much time do we let them watch TV? How much time do we let them get on a tablet? How much time do we as a family even watch movies and shows
Yeah.
and stuff? And so
That's one of the harder things for my family, though, because like Tyler's in high school right now, and all of his classes are online due to the pandemic.
Yeah.
We decided to keep him home just for safety because there are 2+ immunocompromised people in our family.
yeah,
All of his stuff is online, so he spends all day on his computer for school, or on his phone for social stuff, or on his video games to relax.
yeah,
And it's hard to, like, you want to limit that, but at the same time, in our world right now, you can't really.
Yeah.
Because he has to do all of his stuff online.
Right.
So, every now and then we're just like, all right, Tyler, drop everything. You're coming outside with us. We're going on a walk. We're going to sit in the backyard. We're going to the park, something.
Yeah.
And, he's a kid. So every time we say that, he's like, oh, I don't want to go. Do I have to go? Can I just stay here? I just want to relax. But every time we get outside and we go do something, by the end of it, he's like, yeah, I'm glad I did that.
Right. Yeah. Almost every single time that happens. Even with us, like if we take the time just to get outside, be in the backyard and hang out, it's always like this sense of, I don't know, kind of just being one with God's creation, I guess, or however you want to look at it.
Dude,
but
humans are just houseplants with more intricate emotion.
Yeah.
That's basically it. You need to stay hydrated. You need to get some sunlight. You need some fresh air. That's it.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Let's talk about another one of the challenges I think we definitely face as millennial fathers, and that is the challenge of purity culture.
Ooh.
So let me kind of put some definition here, because I do believe there is an importance on sex, and there is, I do believe, damaging mindsets about sexuality that does definitely exist.
Right.
I do not believe that it's healthy nor safe nor spiritually healthy to just go around and doing whatever. However, there's also, on the flip side, with purity culture like we grew up in, there's an extreme danger there's the danger of implying shame and to have guilt that your body did something wrong, or that you are no longer worthy, or that you are no longer valuable because you had sex. And I believe that's utter trash.
Yeah, for sure it is. There's so much negativity and shame placed in purity culture, and specifically on women.
Absolutely.
Young girls, as they're growing up, are told all the time, if you have sex, nobody else is going to want to have sex with you again.
Yeah.
Like implying that the first person they have sex with is definitely going to leave them if they're not married. And then after that, they're just trash.
Right.
And there's nothing they can do about it, and no redemption to it. They screwed their whole lives up. Whether they have kids, get an STD, doesn't matter. That's never the focus.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that they had sex with someone.
Right. Yep.
And all of that shame is placed on these girls, and then the young boys growing up are just told, hey, don't have sex, it's bad.
Right. Yeah.
No consequence. There's nothing to it. Like, if they don't want to be fathers, they can just leave. If they get an STD, it can be treated. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The culture itself is extremely toxic.
Yeah. And to be clear here, because I can hear the comments already. I can hear people's minds running right now. Like, well, I didn't hear that. I remember, hearing about guys doing that. And
yes, you did.
Well, even if you didn't, here's the problem, is that's why conversations and even church is so important, because that's where we come together and share different experiences. Obviously, a lot of females have shared their experience through purity culture and said that, no, I felt like I was personally, as a woman, shamed and felt disgusted. And so, to me as a guy, I need to listen to that, because to me, a lot of the times I didn't feel any kind of, there was some moments where I was like, okay, maybe I don't feel good about this, but most of the time I was like, all right, cool, don't have sex. But still battling through all that, but I definitely did not feel that level of shame that I've heard from so many women.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's one of the biggest things for my wife and I, like looking at churches and different pastors and all the things like that. Some of the things that we look for in a good church is, how do they treat purity culture? How do they treat purity in and of itself? Because beyond just sex, purity isn't something that most churches talk about.
Right.
Even though it affects every aspect of your life. You can be pure in the foods you eat. You can be pure in movies you watch, in the books you read, in the friendships you have.
Right.
Doesn't matter. If your entire focus is on girls and boys not having sex before they're married, you're missing out on the point of purity.
100%.
When it comes to biblical purity.
They definitely escalated that aspect of it. And, whether you agree with that, whether you agree that having sex before marriage is right or wrong, I think we could all agree that the church has definitely missed the other aspects behind sex. And the whole abstinence, rollout and the implications behind that, I think it not only misses the whole point, but I think it doesn't help. Like, and I don't mean that in the sense of like, I'm on the left and I think it's horrible and wrong and everything, but I'm saying like,
no, but like
stats show it doesn't work.
Yeah, abstinence only sex ed doesn't work.
It doesn't work. If it doesn't work, then we need to change our method. So even if
something has to change,
right? Even if your mindset behind that isn't, it doesn't change. Let's look at real world stats and evidence to go, okay, but does this actually physically help people have healthier sexual lives?
Yeah, like what is causing the biggest net good?
Right.
That's what we need to be focused on as a church, as the body of Christ, as human beings in general, whether you're religious or not.
Yeah.
The net good is what we need to be focusing on.
Yep. And to add to this, one last thing, one of the things that I know that you and I have talked about before, but when it comes to purity culture is just, I'm going to make sure when it comes to my daughter that she does not feel pressure to have to dress a certain way to avoid temptation for boys.
Yeah.
Because that just truly ticks me off.
Yeah, for sure. That's another one of those things that starts early too. Like with Ellie, I'll pick her up and take her to her closet and let her pick out her own clothes.
Fun.
She's an infant. She doesn't know what's going on, but I am secretly training her to be independent, to stand up for what she wants, to fight for what she wants.
Come on.
And to not care what anybody says. As long as it like doesn't make me look like a bad father, I'll let her wear whatever she picks out.
Right.
So like if it's like winter and she wants to wear a romper, obviously not.
Yeah.
She's got to wear pants and a jacket and all that. But she gets to pick out her clothes, and she has a blast every morning doing it.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, let's move on. This next one is something that we kind of briefly talked about just through the stats, but that's the work and family balance.
So on this topic, I've had multiple jobs since becoming a father. And each job, it has become increasingly important for me to be able to find the work-family balance.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, I've got to work. I've got to make money. But like the statistics show, for me, family is number one.
Yeah.
Like, I will drop anything I'm doing to be with my family if they need me.
Yeah.
If I'm in the middle of a job, it's the most important business meeting I've ever had. I'm working to get security for the White House. I don't care. I'll drop it right then and there and be with my family if something happens. That being said, obviously, we do have to work. We have to make money. We have to pay bills. So it was important to me to find a job that I could do both. And that's just made it really easy for me personally.
Yeah.
Now, that's a difficult thing to do in most cases, though. Like, not everybody has that opportunity.
Yeah.
Not everybody can find a job like that. Not everybody that finds a job like that keeps a job like that.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things, like, you got to figure it out for yourself where your balance lies.
Yeah.
Like if you can spend more time with, or if your family's cool with you spending less time with them to make more money so that you can afford rent or whatever have you. Those are things that you've got to figure out on your own. For me personally, I think I've done a pretty good job with that.
Yeah. And I mean, it's equally as important to me. That's one of the things, even through ministry, I've really just tried to imply to my bosses, whoever it was, like, look, I want to be here for this ministry. I want to do whatever it takes for these kids. But my kids matter more to me. I love these guys and they're important, but
you're not supposed to pick favorites, but this is your flesh and blood.
Right,
man.
right. But even then, as a culture, and this is where I get a little irritated, because if we, especially as Christians, if we want to see a culture where fathers are in the house and that we want to see fathers there for their kids, then we are sometimes going to have to do things on a government level to actually do that. So I saw a stat the other day. Well, it's not an exact stat. It was a statement that the U.S. is the only high-income country in the world who doesn't have guaranteed paid leave, maternity or paternity leave.
Right.
That says a lot. And the reason why this is so important, because like you were talking about just a few seconds ago, is some people don't have that opportunity to spend time with their kids.
Yeah.
They do not have they have the right, but they don't have the economic stability or income to be able to do that. And so if we as a country and as a Christian church, if we truly care about, households, then we should be at least trying to have the conversation about, okay, what can we do as a community, the United States and our people, do to help ensure that?
Yeah.
It's just something I've been a really bit more passionate about is,
most people in this country work hourly jobs. They don't make salary. They don't have guaranteed income where they can take time off. So you don't work, you don't get paid.
Yeah.
When Ellie was born, I took a week off of work, and obviously I didn't get paid.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't making sales. But I had that backup. Like I had money in savings that I could take that time because of the style of work that I do. It just worked out for me.
Right.
Most people don't have that opportunity.
No, they don't.
And there are other countries out there, first world countries out there, that everybody always talks about, oh, well, this country allows open carry for all of their guns. Okay, but that country also allows 3 months maternity leave. They also guarantee 3 weeks of paid vacation for any job level.
Right.
They have a very high bottom line of where their poverty starts. And their poverty is like our middle class.
Yeah.
It's insane that people can pull that one thing that they like from that culture, but ignore the universal health care.
Right. Well, and I don't want to get too political here, but it doesn't have to be that. It does not have to be so political. It really can just be as simple as, okay, what can work best for our country? Where do we want to put the money where our mouth is? Where do we really want to focus? Do we really want households to be together? Do we really want equal opportunity? Do we really want these things? Then we actually have to stand up and actually enforce laws and policies that show that. And so, okay, I'm going to get off my rant because I can definitely keep going on this because I'm just...
No, understandable. The last thing I do want to say, though, is... things like guaranteed income and universal health care. I follow a woman on TikTok that is a history major for American history, but she is a German citizen. Like she lives in Germany. She just has a degree in American history. It's one of those things you can study there. And what she said is that in Germany, they're far right and they're far left. Don't even debate healthcare. It's just accepted as a thing. It's not even a question.
Yeah.
So what they're debating on is like, how long should maternity leave be?
Yeah.
How much should we give these people as a government thing? Not whether or not we should guarantee lives.
Right. Yeah. And what sucks is that we as a thing is so unique in the United States, especially. I'm not saying it doesn't happen in other countries, but especially in the U.S., is that we turn everything into a political issue, and that automatically you have to side with one side or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And so the reason why I'm saying this is because I don't want anyone listening to this to assume that, hey, that means we side with everything on the left. But it does mean that, look, if we want change in our country, if we want change in our homes and in our households, and if we want families to be united and to have a likelier chance of staying together, then there might be some things that we have to at least have conversations about.
It's got to start somewhere.
And and it doesn't mean you have to change everything about what you believe, but just let's begin to work together. Well, fatherhood. Guys, that's pretty much what we can fit into our time slot that we usually fit in. Obviously, there's always more conversations that we can have about fatherhood.
Ah, I see what you did there.
See what I did? And we love these kind of conversations because it does entice us to change, and it does give us hope to speak better about fathers, and to really hope and pray and to work and to vote for things that we believe in when it comes to fatherhood. And I don't know where I was going with that, but
just following the upward trend, man. Looking at the positive side of it.
That's right.
That's what I like about this topic. Obviously, we point out some of the things that are wrong with fatherhood, but it also shows us the ability to point out some of the things that are right.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, that's all we have about millennial fatherhood. I hope you enjoyed.
Don't go anywhere. The most important parts of our podcast, the things you guys are really here for, are coming up next. So we'll be right back with you.
And we're back.
Hey, guys.
All right, guys, we're going to continue this episode. We're going to wrap all this up. We've got some listener questions, Chris.
All right, so this is from our section, Ask Chris and Tim.
Yes.
Question number 1 comes from Fernando Ramirez.
Yes.
He says, what's your favorite Jedi and Sith Lord?
For me, I think we've answered already the Jedis before.
Yeah.
For me, it's Obi-Wan Kenobi as a Jedi. And
right.
then, Sith Lord, Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader.
Ooh.
There's other ones that I really like, but I really truly know Darth Vader the best, and so I just,
I agree. Yeah. It's easy to love him. You got, 6 different movies about him?
Yeah.
So, yeah, for sure. Favorite Jedi, definitely Ahsoka Tano. Favorite Sith Lord, one you don't hear about unless you're, really into Star Wars, Darth Raven.
Oh, yes. I would love... Oh, I would
I
love
really
to
hope
see
they
a movie
tackle
about
his
him.
story
Yes.
in the High Republic.
Yes.
We'll see. I hope that's the one I'm hoping for.
I know. We need it.
But, he went from dark side to light side to dark side to light side, just back and forth, couldn't figure it out. Truly the definition of a gray Jedi, I think.
Absolutely.
But he was absolutely a Sith Lord at one point.
Yep. That's a good one, man. I dig.
All right. Next question comes from Jessica Hazer. She was actually my mom when I was in college. Not like my actual mom, but like my college mom, I guess.
Oh.
Yeah, she's a real cool person.
Cool people?
Real cool people.
Nice.
All right. She asks, what animal do you think you could take in a fight?
Okay, so I think we have to approach this at starting from the bottom and just keep going up and up until, because there's a lot of animals we could take.
Oh, 100%.
Like an ant pile, no big deal.
It depends on the ant pile, man.
I mean,
because if they're like the ones from Indiana Jones, there's no way.
That's a good point. Okay,
so I could definitely take an earthworm.
Yeah. Okay. Moving up from there, I could take a mouse.
I could probably take a squirrel.
Yeah. I could take a rabbit.
I think I could almost certainly handle a large bird without flight. So like a chicken.
Okay. I think I could take like
maybe a duck.
I think I could take a crow.
For sure, I could take a crow. Crows aren't.
I mean, they're big, but I mean, you grab it, you got it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. I could probably take a dog, depending on the dog.
Dude, yeah, unless it's one of those Russian bear dogs. That,
yeah, for sure.
I think a dog.
I would just die.
I mean, have you seen how big those things are?
They're huge. They're bred to fight bears. I am not a bear.
Okay, so is that our line? Like the Russian bear dog?
I don't know though, because I think I could take a zebra.
No, those things are huge.
Yeah, but they're not built for fighting. They're built for running.
Yeah, but those things survive lion attacks.
Barely.
I don't know. I think you might be overreaching your capabilities there a little bit.
I'm overestimating?
It's not that you couldn't.
All right, maybe not a zebra. How about a gazelle?
I think maybe
like if I were
those
to
smaller
fight,
ones.
If I were to fight a gazelle, not like try to track one down and hunt it and catch it and like chase after it.
If the gazelle decided to also attack you.
Oh, I don't know. They got really
see. That's what I'm saying here. Like, even if it wasn't like you trying to chase it, like if it decided to go with you in a fight,
are these animals fighting back then, or is it like a surprise attack?
I mean, the question
was, I could take a lot of animals surprise.
I mean, the question was taking it in a fight, so I'm assuming these things are trying to get back at you.
Okay, so maybe we'll cut it back down then.
To the bear dog?
No, definitely not a bear dog.
I mean, like
I think I could take a dolphin. Like
in the water?
Not in the water, but like.
Well, of course.
I don't know, man. I'm not in the water. It's not on land, but I think on land would be the fairest because we both breathe air.
I don't know.
Like I can't hold my breath for 5 hours. How am I going to fight a dolphin in the water?
Exactly. I don't think you can actually.
This is an interesting question.
It is.
I think, probably dog. Like medium to large dog would be my limit.
Because anything else above that, like even a bobcat is like, I mean, those things got some nasty claws. So
cougar.
Cougar, gotcha. Got straight up mauled by a cougar. I mean, honestly, like large dogs probably be the line for most humans.
Now, is it just like a fist fight or do I get a knife? Like,
oh, that's true.
What's the deal? Because if I get a knife, I could take a lot more animals.
That's true. I give you gazelle if you got a knife.
I think I could take a cougar if I had a knife.
It'd be a nasty fight, but I think you're right.
I think I would. Yeah.
You might have to have some good stitches afterwards, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It wouldn't be clean, but I think I could win.
Okay, I'll give you that.
I think with a knife, cougar.
Yeah.
Without a knife, large dog.
Yeah, I think that's our consensus. I like that.
All right. I think you're on about the same level too, so.
Thank you for that question, Jessica. That's truly brought up some. Okay, so we have another question from the Not Perfect Pod, another podcast out there. Really like you guys. Thank you for this question. What is your favorite and or punniest dad joke? We talked about this before we started recording. I'm not good when it comes to jokes, like off the top of my head. I mean, I think of all the stereotypical jokes that, most people do, like just the normal punny stuff. And we're good at puns once we kind of get like a roll going on. But
yeah,
I'm not very good at this, so I don't really know. Like
the hi hungry, I'm dad.
Yeah, right.
Those.
Maybe I'm just not dad enough yet, but I'm just never been like.
I think it just comes out of us. It's not like something we plan or like we know. Like on the spot, if you ask me about a joke, I have nothing.
Yeah.
But when you're talking to me, it just comes out, and it's like, the punniest thing. I think my favorite one, though, we'd talked about before this, was the one from Pirates of the Caribbean 5, I think, where Jack is talking to his uncle, and his uncle's like, hey, have you heard the one about the skeleton? Walks into a bar, orders a beer and a mop. That joke in and of itself isn't funny, but the funniness from that scene comes from like some guy down the hall in the jail cell they were in, just like one random guy in the background laughs at it, and that's what got me from that.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think the best dad jokes aren't even the jokes; it's the apparel. I mean, we haven't talked about that all in this podcast, which is crazy. But just the stereotypical 1980s Nike, shoes. The
white shoes, the shorts, the high socks, the dad hat.
The dad hat.
Which is an actual style of hat you can buy now.
Yeah, I got
dad
a couple.
Hat.
It's crazy.
I have a few of them. I love it.
All right. Is that all the questions, man?
I think that is all of them. Yes.
Cool.
So please send your questions in. Send them on social media. You can email us at alwaysmorepod@gmail.com. Just let us know what you guys have. They can be fun. They can be serious. Doesn't matter. Send us your questions.
Yeah. And thanks you guys for putting out your questions. We love them and we appreciate them. All right. Next up, we have a quick short segment that I absolutely love and adore. It is time for Shower Thoughts with Chris.
Theoretically, lobsters are immortal. So technically, a pet lobster, if taken care of properly, could be passed down for generations.
That is freaking amazing. Because aren't jellyfish the same way?
Oh, I don't know.
Something about the sea, man.
I couldn't tell you what it is. I know there's like some type of protein that like zips and unzips DNA.
Yeah.
And as humans get older, that protein starts to lessen in our lives.
Right.
But lobsters never lose that protein. So as long as they can physically grow, they will live forever.
I just can imagine like a family just keeping a lobster that's been around since like the 17th century. It's like, our great grandfather had this lobster. I'm passing it on down to you now. And
it's just this giant lobster. Like at that point, it'd have to be the size of a car. Because they keep growing.
That's
like,
my name.
the way they die is like they can't shed their shell anymore.
Right.
And they just crush themselves inside their own shell, which is really sad.
We should make that a thing. We should go out.
The family lobsters.
Right. We should even like a community lobster. Like it is the lobster. Like a community takes care of.
Do you see the lobster getting slow and old?
Right.
And, like you just go help it out of its shell. That way it can molt and it can get a new shell growing. And we'll see how big the biggest lobster in the world can be when it's 1,000 years old.
Let's do it. Come on, world. Let's do it together.
This is something we have to collaborate on. But I think as a society, we can do this.
We can do it, guys. Let's do this together. Let's raise a lobster for generations.
Oh, man. All right, brother. Let's hear your final thoughts. What are we thinking about millennial fatherhood?
Dude, that's the thing about these podcasts. I mean, we could go on for hours and hours about these kind of conversations. You and I, we love just talking about life in general. And so when it comes to millennial fatherhood, first and foremost, no one knows everything. No one knows it all. There is no perfect 100% way to raise a kid.
My wife knows it all.
Okay, I'll give it to the moms. However, it's just there's so many variables. There's so many different situations, just depending on the person, depending on the family, depending on where the family is. There's so many different things. And so ultimately, what I hope to see well, let me say this. I'm super inspired and enlightened by some of those stats that we saw. Like, we see that there is a positive trend with younger fathers wanting to spend more time with their kids.
Yeah.
And you can't go wrong with that. You can't go wrong with, parents wanting to be there with their kids. So I have that hope. I have that positivity. And I hope that this is something that we as all generations can inspire each other, to push each other to be better parents, and to look at some of these other stats and these other things that are holding us back, and to go, okay, how can we change this? How can we make it as most likely as possible to be there for one another and to encourage fathers to do the best that they absolutely can? So overall, I have hope. I have a positive look as to where we can go regarding millennial fathers.
Right. I think, looking at those statistics, one of my final thoughts would be, obviously, we've got some work to do as a country for like the finances and all of that stuff going on, the financial inequality. But like you were saying, the positive trend of parents wanting to spend more time together with their kids is something to focus on. And if we can fix those other issues, then the whole problem that the older generation has with younger kids just disappears.
Right.
Because we're going to be raising better children. We're going to be better parents. And the other issues are going to be solving themselves at that point in time.
Yeah.
I do think as parents, it is our duty and our pleasure, honestly, to be able to teach our kids certain things. Some of the biggest things that, I want to teach my kids is how to stand up for themselves, how to be emotionally responsible, how to respect other people, being independent, all kinds of stuff like that. Is there anything that you would?
Yeah, I mean, you summarize a lot of it, but just being gentle, being respectful towards one another, respecting boundaries. There's so many like obvious ones that we could probably list off, but one of the biggest things that I try to teach my kids and try to teach myself is that I don't know it all, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And that if we can learn to be patient with one another and to
be patient with ourselves.
Be patient with ourselves, and to learn from one another and to have mutual respect for each other's intelligence and emotional well-being, then I think most of it can kind of, just kind of fall from that. And so, just don't be a jerk.
That's really it.
Just don't be a jerk.
Sums up everything I want to teach my kids. Don't be a jerk.
Don't be a jerk.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for us.
Yes.
Probably going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for joining us on the Always More podcast.
Yes.
Send us your thoughts, connect with us, follow us, like us, rate us. Send us to your friends, your family, your grandmother, whoever you want to tell about us. Make sure that they know about the Always More podcast and help us grow our audience.
Right.
Because we do this for you.
We do it for you.
Also for us, but mostly for you.
Guys, we love it when you guys interact with us on social media, email, whatever it is that you prefer. So make sure you do all those things that Chris said. And I think that's it.
All right.
All right,
we'll
guys.
See you guys next time.
See you.
Thank you for listening to the Always More podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, share, like, and rate on whatever your platform of preference is. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Always More Pod and ask your question using hashtag AskChrisAndTim. If you'd like to support the podcast and feed into Chris and Tim's caffeine addiction, you can do so at buymeacoffee.com/alwaysmorepod. For further information and to contact Chris or Tim, you can email them at alwaysmorepodcast@gmail.com.